a second. And that's it. We're into the show. Welcome to the Coffee
Hooray.
People podcast.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind, the only time you have to talk directly to the audience instead of
Mhm.
just us having a conversation, let everyone know who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. I'm Jen. I'm a writer in photography in specialty coffee. I'm an editor at large at Sprudge, which is an online trade publication. Outside of coffee, I am a photographer for creative and colorful entrepreneurs and also dog parents.
And I would point out we had Jordan and Zach on the show a few seasons ago, so
Oh,
I'll link
nice.
to that as well from Sprudge. Well, I'm excited that you're here. I've been part of your feed on Blue Sky for a while now that you had set up Coffee Sky a while back, and I think it's just me and Fionn Pooler who use it, but
It
I
really
could be
is.
wrong. But it's worth it for me because I
Okay.
get access to him, which is great. I'm wondering if you could give us a little bit of background. Who are you? What got you started in life, and maybe a first coffee experience that set you down the path into this weird world that we live in.
Okay. I feel like as I age, this answer just gets longer and longer.
That's okay. I
Um,
got time.
so I'm just gonna say my first memory of a really great coffee experience was at Madcap Coffee in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this was quite a while ago. Um, they had trialed this concept. I think it was on the weekends where they turned it in the cafe into like a white tablecloth dining experience with a tasting menu. So when you went in, you were actually seated by someone just like you would be at a restaurant. They had a very small selection of coffees and basically like a prefix menu with some dessert pairings too. So I had actually just the day before broken up with my longtime boyfriend, and I was like, not doing great. Um, but because I was in Michigan, I was like, "Oh gosh, I haven't been to Madcap before, and they're doing this thing." And so I went, and it was really nice. I definitely recommend having like solo cafe and dining experiences. But basically, it kind of turned me around on what coffee could be like. And since then, I've also experienced this kind of like tableside service outside of the US. It's a lot more common. And it just gave me like a different perspective on coffee.
Were you already working in coffee at that time?
Mm,
Like you
excellent
had
question.
a
I was
background
I
in
was a
it?
barista.
Okay, so you're
My
already
first barista
aware of
job, yeah.
coffee.
Mhm.
I feel like every barista job is kind of the first one because every place is so different. I could be wrong in that, but you're kind of starting over a little bit. You have some foundational skills, but there's like a whole community to learn and political situation within the staff and the ownership and a table side is going to be different. It's just the whole thing. So you're already at least in the coffee world when this happens, or when you had that experience at Madcap, which I was just in Grand Rapids last year and I didn't make it to Madcap, and it
Oh,
was
no.
one of my few regrets there. Uh, how did you get into the writing photography part of your life? Separate from coffee, and then I'm assuming it led into that somehow.
This is a really kinda tricky question. So, I
I'm really bad at asking simple questions. They're very broad and expansive, so feel free to
it's
just
okay.
unload.
I'm also used to be on the other side of the
Sure.
mic.
I'll tell you what, if you would like at some point to ask me a question, I'm more than happy to answer it as well.
Okay, I do have a question for you for later.
Okay.
Alright, so writing, I've been writing all my life, like, since I was 5. I've kept a journal, and then photography, I had, like, a Fisher Price toy camera that was really large, but it actually used film, and that was my first, like, camera experience. Coffee-wise, I went to Michigan State. And right by East Lansing was a co-op owned roastery. I think it's called Paramount Coffee. I would have to double check that one. But they were basically the only specialty coffee esque place that had like a roastery, and um, the owner there, or the CEO, was super nice. And I think when you live by like a college town, you kind of have to be like receptive to college students. So I don't remember exactly how I got into coffee per se, but I was so excited about learning about how coffee could be more than just like the quad shot mocha that I got at midnight. Um, and once I started learning about like origins and roast levels and all that stuff, I started a coffee club in school and ran that for 2 years. And the CEO actually led coffee cuppings for us on site on campus. And after graduation, I also did a very short roasting internship over there with them. And that's when I learned I don't like roasting. But I still loved coffee. And I was actually choosing between my degree and coffee. My degree is a Bachelor of Science in zoology, in animal behavior and neurobiology. And I
Mm.
wanted to do wildlife rehab work and be a vet. So I did a wildlife rehab internship after the roasting internship in the same summer. And obviously, I chose coffee. Wildlife rehab work is like really a lot more volunteer based.
Yeah, I kind of feel
So
like a lot of coffee is somewhat volunteer based too.
it is. Yeah, but like rehab is like on a different level. It's a lot more
Mm.
physical, really long days. You don't get paid much at all. So in coffee, I was like, okay, I am going to go and apply to like every specialty cafe in Chicago. At that time, there weren't that many. Um, and I found one who would take me in part time at minimum wage. I think it was like 6.25 or something per hour.
Which isn't actually that bad for the Midwest. I think minimum wage in Wisconsin, where I'm from, is still 4.35 now
4.35. Oh my
for a
goodness.
tipped employee. Yeah.
Yeah. It was also tip, but not great in tips. But I wasn't making enough because I wasn't getting full time. And I think when you're just starting out in coffee, especially back then, the next like ideal thing to do was to open a cafe. So I thought I would open a cafe, but I needed more money to open a cafe. Um, so I was like, okay, well, I can't make enough as a barista to do this. I'm going to try and get to like a full time job outside of coffee with benefits. So I joined Groupon, an admin worker, and this was before Groupon had exploded, and it grew a lot over the 2 years. It burned me out twice, and throughout that whole time, I had kept up a blog called Chicago Coffee Scene, which basically covered anything that was happening in Chicago in coffee. And I also did some interviews and like photography for that. So after I got burned out the second time, I just quit. And the thing is, when you quit somewhere, people ask you what you're going to do next. And my answer, because I kept getting asked that, I was like, okay, fine, I'll say something. I'm going to start a coffee business. Oh, what kind of coffee business? I'm going to give walking tours around coffee. And so kind of just like made it up on the spot. Um, and they were coffee tours I designed around the L lines in Chicago.
I just want to say that I wasn't expecting this. It
Oh,
seems like
really?
linear. Like you
Oh,
said,
it's
that's what
not.
you were telling. Well, I know, but like you said, you were telling people that, and then you actually did it, which most people say, I'm going to do this, but then they go and do something else.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
that's
I'm
true.
wondering, when you were telling people that, did you end up did you do it because you were telling people that, or did you tell people that because you had already decided you were doing that?
Excellent question.
Because sometimes I tell people I'm going to do something I haven't
Yeah,
thought through yet, but
yeah.
then I end up having to do that thing because I've said that I'm going to do that thing and I don't want to let anyone down. Not that anyone cares that much, but I feel like I've put it out there and now I have to do it.
Yeah, I think I gave it some thought of, like, what could I possibly do in coffee that is interesting to me? And that is what I came up with. I called it Caffentures for
Oh, fun.
caffeinated adventures because made up words are
Hmm.
easier to brand and market.
Sure.
um, so I ran that for like about a year. And my problem is that I am severely introverted with high social anxiety. I don't like being the center of attention. I don't like talking to other people. But, when you lead a tour, you're kind of the person talking. Um, and this was like early
What?
Instagram times, early,
Why?
early Twitter times.
Why would you agree to be on a podcast if you don't want to talk to anyone?
I mean,
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm grateful that you did. That's I just think as I'm listening, I'm like, I don't think she wants to be here.
I feel like if any introvert was given like a scenario of like being solo or versus
Hmm.
like talking to someone, they would choose solo
Sure.
or plants and animals.
I noticed that you're a plant person. I know this is going off the
I
rails
am.
quickly, but just to let you know, I am what's called or what I've deemed as an introverted extrovert, and that is that I generally prefer to be alone and need lots of alone time. Uh, but I was born into a highly social, extroverted family restaurant
Oh
business,
no.
and so I learned how to turn it on and off in that scenario. Like if I go to a coffee convention or I'm talking on the show or a neighbor stops me, it's almost like I can't. It's like I can't stop it. Like I'm just so used to that hospitality because we were 24/7 in our family. And so it's a weird thing to want to be alone, but then have this compulsive need to try to make sure everyone else is engaged and okay.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
I say I'm a social introvert,
Hmm. Yeah, you
and
got
I
to be.
definitely can't turn it on too.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. I'm also surrounded by plants. It was the first thing we did. We
Nice.
didn't have any furniture, but we bought a lot of plants. So anyway, you started this thing and you ran it for
Mhm.
about a year. Just to bring us back around, you're trying to stay in coffee.
Mhm.
What's next, or how does that progress?
Yeah, so the thing about coffee at that time was that people didn't value it as much as they did wine or beer.
Hmm.
Um, and so making enough money to cover costs and to live wasn't enough. But what I did learn was social media marketing, and using early Twitter, early Instagram days. I taught myself how to do that, how to like market my own brand and business. But I learned I loved working for myself. I didn't like working under a brand that wasn't my name because that does create a challenge. Like you basically have to start off with a new brand versus you as a brand. Um, and I wanted to stay in coffee. So my friends were opening a cafe at the time. They needed opening baristas, and I went back to being a barista, even though I didn't like it the first time around. I didn't quite like it the second time around either. But after thinking about that, like what's next for me while working as a barista, I was like, okay, there's no one in coffee doing marketing, talking about coffee marketing, and no one's really writing and doing photography all at the same time. At the time, my photography wasn't that great, so I was more focused in the writing, copywriting, um, digital marketing side. And I changed my website completely to say that I was a digital marketing consultant. in coffee marketing. And the very next day, someone reached out and said, "Hey, we need someone to run our marketing. Um, can you join us?" So I went as like a full time, in quotes, consultant freelancer and ran their marketing. It was of like an online company, one of those like aggregators that drop shipped coffees. There weren't that many around at that time. So this person had bought like the email list, the website domain, and like that kind of stuff, but wanted to change the branding completely. So I did product photography, I did copywriting, I did digital marketing, all for them. And then they couldn't afford me. So
I was thinking in my head, how would you even know what to charge? Like you had just changed your website and like, how do you know
yeah,
your value? I never know.
well, I didn't know at the time that I was negotiating when they asked me what my rate was. So I said, okay, I was paid this much at Groupon when I left.
Right.
Also, I need a new computer because my computer doesn't like have the programs to edit all these photos. And they came back with a higher rate and a new computer. um, but yeah, so that's when I learned not to have one client. You need more than one
Yeah.
client. And I ended up being a digital marketing consultant in coffee for a decade. And alongside that was also writing and photography.
And at some point, writing and photography becomes more front and center, or are you still full time digital marketing?
I dropped digital marketing 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? What was the impetus for that? Just wanted to change, just done with the different
Um,
landscape? What was the reason why?
I started hating marketing.
Fair.
um, when you're doing digital marketing, it's you have to keep up. Um, and Reels was introduced, TikTok arrived. I hate video. Um, I didn't want to learn video. I didn't want to like dance for the camera. I didn't want to stay glued to my phone, which you have to do if you're managing someone's social media. And I also didn't like all the doom scrolling and like how much you can get sucked into being online. Um, and it just wasn't exciting for me anymore. It was a lot more admin work than I wanted. It was draining my soul. I felt like no creativity was coming out of me at the time. So I ended up dropping it.
There, I sent out a piece this morning about kind of where I am with using AI and the
Mhm.
creation of the show. And it was it along those lines. It comes down to, it's not that I'm anti tech necessarily. It's that I feel like sometimes things are, you're told they'll make your life easier, but they're actually doing is adding chores to your life and taking away some of the things that you like to do. Like,
Mhm.
I love creating the show. I like, learning how to do a new thing, like if it's with the audio or researching the guests. Like, I'm not looking on ChatGPT for questions or anything like that. Like,
Mhm.
those are the parts that I love. And it's not that I think that there is especially in this current iteration of the digital world, we're always, we're being marketed to so much that sometimes it's hard to figure out, oh, did I actually make that choice? Or did I just see that so many times that it became normalized and what I decided to do?
Mhm.
And so I think I'm in a phase of just trying to really slow down my decision making process. I shouldn't have to uh, be checking my phone every 10 minutes to respond to something. It should be, you should be able to have some autonomy from the digital world. And that's why plants are so important, because they force you out of that.
They
Um,
do.
so you turn your focus to something that you presumably still love and enjoy, and the risk there, I think, is that you do it for your job and it becomes, less eventually, like digital marketing might have. But how did you, I'm assuming people still called you or still call you and say, hey, can you do marketing for us? How did you transition that part of your career to be more writer, photography focused? Or did you just say, no, this
Um,
is what I'm doing now and made it
yeah,
happen? Yeah.
it basically was that. I mean, it took a lot of time to get to that point. Um, but once I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to now transition out of all the things I was doing, marketing related, and just say no to all the people who want to use digital marketing from me. I
That,
mean, it sounds really simple, but it takes me a long time to make decisions.
yeah.
And I'm actually trying to get faster at making decisions because I take so long. I think it took me like 2 years.
Well, I'd imagine it's scary. You're giving up something
Yes,
that and that pays you, I would assume, enough to survive and or more. And um, so, yeah, it's got to be scary to not know that the next thing will do the same thing.
it's true. It is very scary. And in a lot of ways, it feels like starting a new business because a lot of my photography work is now local instead of like a general coffee industry kind of world. Um, so I've had to go to a lot of networking events,
And
which
you're
I
based
love.
in San Francisco, I would
Yes.
imagine. At least I would say, of all the cities that I'm familiar with, San Francisco feels a little more respectful of people's saying, I don't want to deal with you. I could be wrong in
Hmm.
that. I don't live there, but if somebody says, "Hey, I feel like you're allowed to have you're a little more insular." Maybe I could be wrong. I don't
Hmm.
know the city that well. Um,
I
I
think it
guess,
really depends on
yeah.
where you are. Because tech is such a dominant part of the city, it's really hard as a creative person to find the events and the people and the community that you want to connect with. If you go to like Eventbrite or Luma and search for events in San Francisco, it's like, I don't know, 95% AI. The other 5% is like speed dating.
Mm. Do they let you into those events if you're not wearing like a fleece vest? That's just
Yes, they do.
just checking in on this stereotype. Uh, so when did you know, or and I shouldn't presume that you did, but like uh, after you make the transition, and I think a lot of what I'm taking away just from our early chat here is, that there is no one, simple path. But when did you think, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make this work. This is going to work. I get the impression that you're somebody and I could be wrong. When you do make that decision, because it takes you so long, you're fairly comfortable in it. Is that accurate to say?
Mm, it really is like a fake it until you make it kind of situation.
Okay.
I think when you work for yourself, you have to believe in yourself enough to keep going. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to succeed at all.
When What do you do when you have moments of doubt?
Cry.
Okay.
um, I call it like the weekly business owner mental health breakdown.
Sure.
It actually isn't weekly anymore, but for a bit it was weekly,
Uh,
sometimes more than weekly.
yeah.
Um, I I think you really have to have um, components in your life that light you up. So when like work isn't doing that for you, you need to find something else. Um, and so I have a dog. She loves to explore. She's really smart, and so we go out to hike and like cafes and all sorts of stuff. And of course, I have plants and probably a bunch of other hobbies too. Uh, but if I feel like a lot of emotion building up inside, I just turn to like a show I know is going to make me cry, and then I cry. So it's really more of like a release of emotion. So I can go back to it the next day and be a little more energized.
On that uh, on that note, I'm thinking I'm having some feels of my own right now as I think about there are literally days where I'm on top of the world and thinking I'm doing really good, and at the same and then like 10 minutes later, like what am I even doing here? I should get a job at enterprise rent a
Mhm.
car or something. Uh, you are a solopreneur now and a solo entrepreneur. Have you had moments where you thought, you know what, it'd be easier just to go get a job?
It would be a lot easier to go get a job, although in this job market, maybe
Yeah.
not. Uh, and I think this is going back to what I said about like believing in yourself. Um,
Hmm.
you have to really find the things that drive you, because no one else is going to do it for you.
What is the reward then for going this way? Like, is it only career based or financial? Is it intrinsic? What is it that you see as being, the value of taking on the responsibility of running your own business and making sure that you are surviving?
So I have anxiety and depression, and the thing that they don't tell you when you finally get those things under control, like I found a great mix of medication that brought my anxiety down, which apparently, because I've had these for most of my life, but didn't know it for like the first half, um, once your anxiety is down, your depression kind of appears. And also, anxiety is very often like the driver and the motivation of what you do. So if you're worried about like meeting someone's expectations or like owing someone something or like telling someone you're going to do something and you do it, that's anxiety driving you to do that. And once you take that away, you have to find the things that like drive you. And for me, I cannot picture myself working in an office job. Like I have done it before, even if it was in more of like a relaxed tech startup kind of environment. Um, and I imagine the experience of working there in an office, and it sucks to me. I don't want to commute outside of my living room. Um, I have a very different schedule, I think, than the average person. I have like a split work day, and that's because it works with my own energy levels throughout the day. I go to bed really late, I wake up late, and that I found is like the best for me. So I don't do well in the morning, and I definitely don't do well at like having someone to tell me I have to be there at 8, 9, 10, whatever. I also have problems with authority. That's a really big one. I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like office politics. I really hate that like negotiation you have to have within an office of like holding things back because you don't want to offend someone, being nice to someone so you can move up in the ladder. None of that's interesting to me. Um, and so when I think about all the stuff that I do not want to do, those are the things that drive me to want to succeed at working for myself.
So a lot of the things that I think you've been saying contradict something I read about you on your website, which is that as a photographer in particular, you
Mhm.
are not the type of photographer, and this is kind of what I gleaned from it, that just stands over here and presses the button. You kind of engage, you are part of an experience if it happens to be experience based. You become, it's a relationship of sorts between you and the subject or you and whoever is hiring you. Uh, which is not the same as, not wanting to be part of, someone's life, or not, having to, you're still dealing with a lot of those things, but it feels like maybe you're just doing it on your own terms. And I think that's super cool, right? Like you are. So, full disclosure, I was a photographer. My wife and I owned a small photography firm a long time ago, and our pitch was that we would embed with your event. Where if you want us to stay off to the side, that's not going to work. If you want us to do shots with you at the bar, we're probably, going to be the right couple or whatever. Now, we were in our 20s; it was a different time.
Mhm.
What is it about this, about being part of an experience, or being part of someone's photo shoot, or writing an article about something, um, that helps you tell a story? Does that make sense? Because as a writer photographer, you're essentially conveying a story in two different
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah.
Some sort of visual or feeling that people want to convey. How does being more involved and more a part of it as opposed to an observer benefit you?
Okay. I
Sorry,
would
it's
disagree
oh,
that
okay,
it's contradicting
okay,
because in an office environment, you're doing a lot more politics and
sure,
things you don't want to do. Whereas when you work for yourself, um, ideally you get to choose the projects you want to do. Um, and you're a partner, you're an expert with this other person or people. And that is a different level of interaction than in an office. I also didn't like being a middle manager. That was just bad. Um, but when you're working for yourself, it's a lot more about control, I think, over what you can do and what you don't want to do. And so when I work with people or brands, um, I don't think of them as like my boss. I just think of them as a client, as a partner. It's collaborative. We're going to bounce off of each other. Um, and a lot of them are projects I'm excited about. In writing and photography, I don't usually combine them unless it's in journalism or my newsletter. But photography wise and writing wise, I guess, I find them very similar, to be honest. And I know people will disagree because some people are like solely writers and not photographers, and vice versa. Um, but you basically have to connect with your subject in some way. You have to do some sort of research beforehand, basically like prepping for an interview or an article. Um, you have to be able to draw out their self and maybe even anticipate what they don't know yet. And then you have to tell their story in usually a favorable light
sure.
or neutral,
I'm
but basically
always
one that reflects them.
Yeah, I was just reading an article where the subject very clearly was a participant and engaged with the interviewers, but it wasn't a very positive article. And I remember thinking, I wonder how much they were aware that this would go that way in the end. And that's kind of the difference, obviously, between journalism and branding and marketing. But, I try to get a little bit smarter when I do these shows, or learn things, or help our audience learn things. Roastar
Mhm.
helps support a bit we do called Coffee Smarter. I'm wondering, as you're a couple of years into this kind of iteration of your career, what opportunities are being missed by brands in the coffee industry to bring on someone who does what you do? Where what is the value add to having someone who specializes, or is excels in photography and writing, and the work that you're doing now?
That's a really good question. Um,
I think about it as uh, if I'm running a coffee shop, or
mhm,
a coffee roaster, or, at any scale, small business to whatever, I've got a lot of other things on my plate. I may
oh,
not be
totally.
thinking about copy, or I may not be thinking about how the photo appears, or whatever.
Mhm.
So where are you seeing that you're like, oh, you know what? I could actually really help you here.
I would say a lot of websites aren't great. Like a pretty remarkable number of websites are not that good, if they have a website at all. And this is actually just something I find. Okay.
I can see your puppy taking a nap there now in the background.
Oh my gosh, you're so passed out.
Mine is asleep right behind me as well. So,
Oh, nice.
sorry, I'm trying to remember quite where we were there when I got distracted. You're talking about websites and the opportunities that brands can have working with someone like you.
Yeah. So websites would be like owned media, basically something you control. Social media, you don't own the accounts technically, like Meta and TikTok all do. They control the algorithms, and you're kind of just like, I don't know what the right word here is. You're a victim to that. You just deal with whatever changes that come your way from social media companies. Whereas on websites, you can do like whatever you want. You can be as unique as you want. Um, and if someone's looking you up and they see like, even if it's just a one pager of a couple sentences saying who you are, what you represent, what your values are, and then some photos to reflect what those values are and what it looks like inside of your cafe. Um, that helps a lot as like a new customer. It also gives a little more professionalism to the company or brand when you have professional photos on a website. And I want to say that because it's different from like social media now, where like you want to be a little more authentic and genuine, and like phone photos are sometimes good for that too. Um, but if you want to like be out and have press coverage in a local newspaper or a magazine or um, that kind of press, you need good photos. You need good press photos. Like they're not going to print um, a phone photo you took that has bad lighting or bad focus.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm always surprised. I've done 17. This is season 18 of the show that
mm,
we're talking in, and I don't want to say I gave up, but I stopped at some point expecting to be able to get a good quality photo from a guest for a newsletter or a thing. And I get it. That's maybe not their priority, but if I'm trying to also share a conversation and represent you in the
mm-hmm.
best light, and I've learned like for the headers of the show, I stick with like screenshots of the conversation because, and I usually do,
Oh
it's
no.
usually not, like right now, it's like a duotone blue with a screenshot that's faded in the background under the text because I just can't guarantee that I'm going to have that high quality photo from
Yeah.
each person or from each experience. And we put out a lot of content, so it can be challenging, but that is something that I noticed when I'm out looking at websites and researching where to go and talking to
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah. I know it seems like it could be a lot of money, but it is like a long term marketing investment. If you have a good photographer who understands what you want and works with you, those photos should last for a bit, unless you're changing your menu like all the time or your interiors all the time. Um, or yourself, I guess, all the time. Um, like, unless you're changing all of that, then they should last like 2 to 5 years, sometimes more. Um, and that really represents your brand in a way that basic AI copy and AI generated photos or logos could do.
Sure. You mentioned earlier a newsletter. So you have your website for writing and photography, and you do coffee and dogs and other fun things. But the newsletter is a little bit, I think, more. I'm not sure if it's a career related or if it's more personal. I actually have been a subscriber for quite a long time and didn't realize that when I was setting up. I didn't put it together that Tangents was also Jenn Chen for some reason. So I've been a subscriber for some time. What is the newsletter, and how does that provide value to you, like a little balance in your life as far as what you're putting out there?
Thank you for being a subscriber.
You're welcome.
So Tangents, with my name, Jenn in the middle, is a personal newsletter, but also just like a creative outlet for me in writing and photography. It actually started as a coffee marketing newsletter, and it was a coffee marketing newsletter for about 7 years. I covered like the basics of social media channel changes, like algorithm changes or like things to pay attention to, strategies, um, and very specific in the coffee area. And of course, that one was like a lot more work tied. But I did find myself writing about things that were not exactly coffee related. Um, and I think when you start resenting something, it's a sign that something needs to change. And resentment and procrastination. So I was doing both on this newsletter. I was like, I don't want to put this together. It takes so long. I feel like no one replies, which is true. And I don't know if it's doing anything. And writing about marketing kind of sucks my soul out. And I would like to be able to write about whatever I want. So it took a few iterations, but I basically pulled the switch to make it Tangents. I changed the design, I changed everything basically. Kept the plant section because that one's a favorite. But I basically just put in sections that I would want to read and want to share. And the tangent section has been the same for a bit. But I now have it as like whatever's been on my mind lately to give me like the broadest coverage possible. And I do have to know that it's not coffee. There's nothing, I mean, I am in coffee, obviously, but I don't write about coffee often.
Sure. I think coffee is so much bigger than just coffee, anyways. It's just I don't want to say it's a background, but it's a part. But the coffee experience, to me, is an integral part of kind of my daily life, even if it's not work related. It's, even this cup of coffee I was drinking that's gone now, I might add. When we first started talking, I was so excited because my friend Lee roasted it and gave it to me in person. And I don't get to see him very often. And I've been kind of saving it for an afternoon recording since decaf. And I had all these kind of things leading up to this cup of coffee while I was drinking it before I even tasted it. And I always think that's exciting. Um, as somebody who's been on the entrepreneur path for a while, I'm wondering if you have someone who's done some work, looking at themselves and what works for them too. Do you have any sort of advice, some wisdom, something that you might pass along to our audience that you think is beneficial? Something you'd like to get out there that might make it into a Tangents newsletter at some point, or has? Who knows? You can recycle content here. We're not judgy.
I'm actually celebrating my 14th anniversary of being self-employed next week.
Oh, congrats!
Thank you. So I would say for entrepreneurship or working for yourself, the best advice I can give is to not take advice from someone who hasn't been where you are and isn't where you want to go. So to elaborate, I had a friend who was thinking about going to like get a certification in coffee. And it was going to be a little expensive. She asked her friends like what they thought, and they're like, "You don't need that. You don't need like certification." Because in the U.S., like certification is not as important in coffee. But I asked her, like, are any of these people business owners or consultants? Like, do they work for themselves? And she said no. And I said, you should do it, because in her job, certifications were important to her clients. Like, they cared about the paper that of the people that they worked with. And as a woman working with her clients too over there, it was really important to have, like, I guess, the paper proof that you know what you're doing, which sucks. But that was the reality. And I said it was basically investment in the business. And I think if you're taking advice from someone who's never been an entrepreneur, who isn't a business owner, it's just a totally different mentality. Like, they don't know what it's like to wear all of the hats and having to teach yourself all of the things and even do the things you don't want to do. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about, like, I don't know, learning accounting, which I hate, but I learned.
Sure.
Or, like, all the little things that are pretty vital to a business. And if you're working for someone else, there's probably some type of like career growth built in for you. But if you're doing it yourself, you have to go and, like, upskill yourself. You have to find those opportunities. You have to find, like, the courses and identify your skill gaps and, like, get those skills. Like, it's just a different mentality. And when you're just starting out, I think it's really easy to doubt yourself, especially if people around you are telling you that it's not a good idea, or what are you thinking? Like, why can't you just work, like, an office full-time job? And if you listen to them long enough, you're going to doubt yourself too, and you're just never going to take off.
Did you have a role model or someone that you could ask questions of when you kind of got started on the solo
No.
path?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because back then I was making it up as I went along. Really, truly.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned about your friend and being a woman in an industry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the early guests on the show who were women mentioned feeling lonely in coffee because it was
Mm.
a much more isolating experience than maybe for their male counterparts.
It was.
And I'm wondering, and it's a question I ask sometimes: is did you feel that way, and if entrepreneurship helped you break out of that or improved, or is it just like everything? Is it something that you ever thought about?
Is it something you
Being
ever thought about?
yeah, being now as a as an established professional, you might be a role model for someone else. In particular, a young woman thinking about going off on her own, although could be a young man as well, or young person.
In person, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was starting out, it was a very, very male-dominated industry, like super male-dominated, especially in Chicago. And that's changed a lot since. But I think when you're working in it and then you go off on your own, there aren't that many people you can talk to. Like, I don't have anyone in my family who I talk to who's an entrepreneur. I didn't have any friends who were doing that. I just had to figure the shit along, like, as I went along. Like, I had to research, I had to do it. I'm self-taught in both writing and photography and marketing. And that's just how I've been my entire life, of being self-taught. But when you walk into a room and it's like people who have more experience than you in the industry, it's really easy to doubt yourself. And so, let's see, I faked it until I made it, like, I don't know, 8, 9 years. Yeah.
Uh, I had to mute for a second because my dog is licking himself, and I'm sure the microphone is picking that up. Hey,
I
bud,
did
I'm
not
not.
hear it, but I can imagine it.
Good, good. What did we miss today? Anything that we missed, if there is anything that you really wanted to get out or share in this conversation with anyone listening?
I'm going to think on this one for a second.
Yeah, take your time. I'll take that moment to say that there's a bunch of links to find you online, and we'll share all of them in the newsletter and in the show notes. But as well as hopefully some work that we can link to. I If you have a piece of advice, I'd love to hear it. And while we're thinking on that, when you are out and about and you do go to, say, a coffee shop networking event, what is it that you're going to order to drink?
If I know the shop and the baristas, I'm ordering a cortado.
Okay.
If I've never been to this shop, but I do know specialty, I'm ordering a cap. I will also buy the SIG drinks if they're super interesting.
So then, any sort of, I include this at the end, and if there isn't, that's okay as well. But I always ask people if they have any sort of nonprofits or similar type of efforts that they find value in their life and would want to share, so we can just draw some attention to that.
Sure.
Which is a bit I stole directly from Mike Birbiglia, the comedian who does this on his show. Just to shout out him.
Nice. I would say SANA, SANA. It's a mental health program, nonprofit that was started by my friend Lucia to provide mental health resources to women producers. Non-coffee wise, I volunteer for a nonprofit called California Bully Rescue, and they pull at-risk euthanasia listed bully breeds out of shelters and give them a loving fostering environment and then adopt them out.
Are you willing to share what your dog's name is?
Zoe. Zoey.
Welcome
to the show, Zoe. She is a pit
Zoe.
mix, which I did not know when I adopted her.
Yeah. But it seems to have worked out.
Yes, absolutely. She's my first adult person dog, and I've learned a lot through her. a lot.
Yes, I am the same. Mine exudes pure joy at all times and reminds me that this is not supposed to be so serious all the time. Jen, I just appreciate the time that we've spent and getting to know you a little bit. The person behind the words that I've been reading for so long. Thank you for being here. And if there's anything that we can ever do to support what you're doing, please let us know.
Thank you. I have a question for you.
Oh, that's right. Do you want it to be on the show?
Well, I guess that's up to you because you're.
I suppose, yeah. Okay.
What is a coffee hill that you would die on?
A coffee hill that I would die on. I don't know that I would die on it because I don't take things too seriously in coffee, I think, other than I think that it's important to at least try to understand that there's somebody on the other side of the coffee you're drinking. And if your whole goal is to get a cheaper cup of coffee, know that someone else is sacrificing for you. It's not that that cup suddenly became cheaper to produce or to get to you or, for the coffee shop to make. My goal in life is to create win-win-win relationships. And by that, it's a win between me and whoever I'm interacting with, and also a win for somebody over here that I don't even know is part of this transaction or this process. Because if you cut them out, then you're really not, I don't know. I don't want to say you're not a good person, but you're also just you're kind of intentionally being unaware because it makes your life more convenient or easier. And I struggle with that a lot because we all do things in our life that there are unintended consequences to. And sometimes intended consequences that we can live with because we don't actually see the results. Like shopping on Amazon, for example, right? Or something like that. And so I think that's more of the point that I stick to is know that I'm not saying every time you drink a cup of coffee, you have to be like, go through this whole process of like, where was it made and what was the name of the person who planted it and, on and on. But just know that the choices that you're making are affecting people outside of you and the person making the coffee for you or producing it, or like the bag that I made here today, and try to find options that you trust that are doing things to try to make it a better system if they can. And as a consumer, so my regular spots that I like to go to, I'm in a new neighborhood, so I don't have a ton of those yet. But like in my old neighborhood, there was maybe 7 roasters that I could walk to, and which is kind of excessive.
Yeah.
Uh, but of those, I really only went to 2 or 3, and it wasn't just because they had the best coffee. I mean, I think that kind of goes hand in hand, but like I saw over time that they were also making the effort to provide a better experience and
Mm-hmm.
source coffee in a more responsible way and share stories of the people behind things. And I learned to trust that they were also making the effort. And so if they're making the effort and I'm making the effort, I can reasonably presume that they're trying to work with people who are also making the effort. And you have to keep that going. And at some point, you have to give in and just trust, because it's not like I have the resources to go down all 27 million steps of that supply chain, but you have to hope that if you're if you're supporting and working with people who believe in in helping uplift other people or in creating winning relationships, that then that's transitioning down the line, and hopefully that game of human telephone is not getting too perverted somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is it only takes like one little hiccup for that to, go off the rails. But ultimately, it's like uh, it's the problem is you'll never really know for sure. With the internet, we can see so much more of the supply chain than we used to, and so many more people are more aware of that. But you're still kind of, as a consumer, trusting that when I get a cup of coffee from, True Love Coffee Roasters in San Juan Capistrano, I'm trusting that Lee did the work to work with sourcers that he trusts, and then they did work with people they trust, and so on. So that's probably I don't know if it's a hill I would die on, but there's a lot of other little things that I could die on. Maybe I'm like a middle aged dude with all kinds of like, I'm starting to break down. I've been, yesterday I was out planting all day in the yard, and I like woke up today and I was like, you're not doing anything today.
Mm.
You're sitting in front of your computer because all of you hurts from planting that lilac and that apple tree. And here we are. I hope that helps answer that question. Maybe it went too long.
No, it answered it. There's no like
Yeah.
long or short answer
I
for
got
it.
time if you got time. So you can
I have
ask me
time.
anything you like.
I did think of one advice.
Oh, wonderful.
Actually, a few. I would say it's really important to have hobbies. That work-life balance is quite necessary, I think. Hustle culture sucks, and it's okay to build slowly. You really don't need to be working like 18 hours in a day to get a business off and sacrifice all of the people and relationships around you. So, yeah.
You spent some time. Did you grow up in the Midwest?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just feel automatic guilt anytime you're not working?
I think that's actually from my parents.
Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe that's why too. But
Yeah. I mean, the immigrant mentality is you gotta work and hard work pays off. Um,
bootstraps. You got to pull
yeah.
yourself up.
Except not business. You gotta like find a good job, stay in that for the rest of your life, and then get the benefits from it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same system that they came up in, perhaps.
Well,
Uh,
my dad did work pretty much the same job his entire life, and I totally understand why he did that. Um,
well, every
but yeah,
generation will have different uh, exterior variables as well,
yes.
like stability and this group coming up, like there's all these like articles about how younger generations don't have work ethic or they don't have loyalty, and it's like, well, they don't have the same job opportunities and they're not getting pensions at the end of it either. So
Mhm.
maybe it's unreasonable to say you should do what your parents did, and just acknowledge that, hey, that things have changed, and what worked generationally may not work for this one, or their motivations may be different, or uh, I think there's a funny thing where one generation works really hard so the next generation can have more opportunities and more things, but then when they go and do those things, they go, well, that's not how I did it.
Mhm.
You go, well, isn't that the point?
Mhm.
You can't be upset if someone else does something differently, and I think in the end, if you just got to hopefully not hurt anyone or any animal for that matter.
Yes, true.
In particular, this one, if something happened to this dog, I would turn into John Wick. I think I'm not a violent person, but I understand that movie much more than I would like to admit. I did fast forward through that beginning part of it. You said there might be another piece of wisdom. I don't
Um,
want to take that. Hey, buddy,
I
come here.
think the more you lean into the stuff that excites you and lights you up, the more opportunities will come your way. Oh, oh my gosh, so cute.
This is post nap, pre chaos. It's about to happen. I can sense it.
What's this mix?
He's we think he's Boston Terrier,
Mm-hmm.
Beagle, and maybe
Oh,
Pug. He's got kind of
interesting.
the best of all the worlds. He's a little, street dog
Mm-hmm.
that somebody abandoned, and we got lucky for it.
He looks like he's having the best life.
It's a pretty good life. Uh, we kind of joke as we're undoing a lot of DIY work in the house that we just bought.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't even matter because we only bought this house. What we did was we bought a yard so that he would have a place to play,
Mm-hmm.
and this house just happened to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really the reality. And in a very short period, he has met every single person in the neighborhood, and he keeps me very social. And because we do have a yard in an area where they're kind of at a premium, most of our neighbors bring their dogs over and just drop them in the yard, which we've encouraged. So that's him ringing his bell to go outside, which also means that I need to follow his orders. And uh, I regret teaching him. My wife taught him how to ring that bell, and
Yeah,
our last
there's a reason why I haven't gotten those talking buttons.
oh my god, I would hate to know. Our last dog would ring it to go out, just to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
This dog understands that if he rings it and he can just go outside, and he
Mm-hmm.
likes being outside. But if he also
Mm-hmm.
rings it and steps out and comes back in, he expects a treat because he's done a thing. So we are working on this whole process.
He's trained you.